Welcome to the Honest to Godcast, podcast dedicated to learning the truth, and the truth will set you free. I'm your host, Stephen B. Hello, welcome back to the Honest to Godcast. I'm your host, Stephen B. Today, we're going to go into part 3 of Exposition of Amity Circle Tree Ranch. If you haven't watched the other videos, the reason I'm calling it an exposition is because I'm exposing stuff. And I do suggest you watch the other videos about this topic because it builds a foundation, so that you can clearly understand. What we're doing here is we're using the BITE model, BITE, which stands for behavior, information, thought, and emotional control. These are the earmarks of a cult, and there are others, and we'll get into that as this series progresses. Today I'm going to show you a little clip here of Mark's testimony is what it's called, and it's not very long, just like all the other ones. I'm able to break them down into, bite-sized chunks, as it were, so that we can, go through this. And I'm using their videos. This is the disclaimer. I'm using their videos with a Fair Use Act. And in addition to the videos, I've got all the other receipts that we're going to go through. There's a lot in here. This is going to be a series. So just hang with me. I'm not going to make very long videos of each one. I'll try to be brief, be brilliant, and be done, and be concise as well. So just sit back, relax, and we're going to watch this video, and I will include commentary afterwards. My name is Mark Schuttinger. I'm 62 years old. I'm a great-grandfather. I came to Amity when I was 25 years old. I started abusing heroin when I was 15, and I used heroin for the next 11 years. I went through the Juvenile Department of Corrections during that time. I was a ward of the state. Then I ended up going to the county jails. Then I ended up going to the state prison in California. I came to Amity in early July of 1981. I had fathered 2 children by then, and I was pretty much hitting my bottom at that point. I was still on parole, and I was just tired of the way my life was going. I was tired of the misery and all the stuff that goes on with addiction. Amity gave me, for the first time in my life, a chance to have sanctuary where I felt safe enough to where I could talk. I grew up in a well-to-do family in Palos Verdes in California. So my parents, when I was a teenager, dragged me to many psychiatrists, psychologists, but not one of them were able to get me to talk about the things that were really haunting me. When I started going to the groups at Amity, I began to address issues such as being adopted, which for me was a big powder keg of emotions that had kept me not only in my addiction, but it kept me hurting other people, being resentful, being cynical, etc. So I think the group process really helped me begin to open up. And Amity also offered me a chance to make mistakes and learn from my mistakes. It was the only place I'd ever been to up until that point at 25 where I wasn't thrown out of for making mistakes. And I made a lot of mistakes in the first year of my process of change or recovery. In looking back, I think having the role models that were there, other addicts that had cleaned up, having them there really gave me hope and inspired me, like, wow, if Wilbur could do it, I could do it. That was another transformation point in my process in Amity. My life is very rich today. I've made a career in helping others. You know, all my children I collected, which I didn't have when I was 25. You know, they were born, but I wasn't a good father. They're all doing well. They've brought me grandchildren and now great-grandchildren. And I could trace it all the way back to the chances I've had at Amity.
Okay, so that's Mark's testimony. There are several things that he mentions in there that I'm going to address, as well as his character. Um, when you first see the propaganda, the virtual tours, the stuff online that you look up about Amity Circle Tree Ranch. They're advertising it and promoting it as a treatment center, you know, for long-term treatment for, you know, folks like me who I was out there for decades, drinking, using, ripping, roaring, and I was doing it to cover up the emotional pain that I received when, as I've mentioned, I used to be in a place of leadership in a destructive doomsday cult. And it traumatized me, and the way that I dealt with all of that trauma and disillusionment mainly was by drinking and using. So I saw their videos and stuff. And when you get there, they tell you that it is not a treatment center. They tell you that it's a therapeutic community, number one, which has its roots in Synanon, and I've proven that, and that they also call it a school of moral development. Now, this fucking guy, Mark, is actually the director of the entire facility, and he doesn't even believe, like, with 100% of the doctors that study addiction, it's a disease. Okay, your brain becomes damaged, your amygdala takes over, top down control doesn't work anymore, and so that's why you become immoral and amoral. It's not the other way around. He says it's all just a moral thing. You'll also notice that in this segment, he mentions the process. And that term gets thrown around all the time when you're there. Oh, the process, the process. Oh, I'm not far enough along in my process. Oh, where are you at in your process, brother? You know, things like that. And I've asked everybody that was there on staff and a lot of the so called students uh, of moral development that were there, okay, tell me what is the process, and not a single person either that was enrolled there or that was on staff there could tell me what the fuck the process is. It's this invisible thing that you're supposed to attain to, and if you don't acquiesce to it, they in my situation, they withheld my meds from me until I ended up having to go to the emergency room. That's how bad of a director this guy is. In fact, he's so bad that all the other therapeutic communities out there, like in LA and other places, probably Seattle, I don't remember where they're all at, of course, but they hate him. All of the leadership and those other ones, they hate his guts. And like I said, he's the guy that when you go into a forum, berates you and belittles you, like he did with James Enoch. First of all, convincing him that the only way he's going to get clean and sober is if he's there. And um, admittedly, James screwed up once or twice. I don't know how many times. But the thing is if you're there and you screw up, like for one example, there was a guy named James, a guy named Sheldon, and another guy, and I don't quite remember his name. I want to say Joseph. They figured out the codes to the medical building, and what they did is they broke in there at night. They got all the benzos, all the Suboxone, uh, any of the pain meds that people needed, and they were caught on camera, and they should have gone to prison for that. But what did Mark do? He punished the entire uh, community. He stopped all movement. Nobody could come in, nobody could go out. And a lot of people that day had doctor's appointments or court appointments or, what does that do? That just creates more problems and more issues. What happened to me is I had a doctor's appointment that day, and as fate would have it, my doctor called to make sure that I was going to be there just to confirm the appointment. So what happened? Uh, they shuttled me over to my doctor's appointment. When I came back, they accused me of using a cell phone, which I didn't have because there was another person there that's on staff who stole my phone, and I never did get it back when I exited. Oh, we don't have your phone, and I know the person who stole it. But when I came back, they withheld my meds because I wasn't acquiescent to their so-called process, and I ended up in the emergency room a couple of times because of that. Um, Mark is so brutal during the forums, and he says that he's made a career out of helping people. No, he's very hurtful, and if for whatever reason you don't acquiesce, he will make your life miserable, a living hell when you're there. Now, when I got there, it was a smoking facility. I mean, good God, it's a 54-acre ranch. You could go way away from the buildings and smoke. And then he decided, well, we're going to turn this into a non-smoking thing. And smoking was his hobby horse that he rode for a while. There was, a lot of us that did smoke, and he made such an issue out of it. And, once again, he would take you and browbeat you. And all of a sudden, smoking became enemy number one. And so, this is a good place for me to wrap this section up. But yeah, take a look at this picture again. Take a look at his eyes. Look how close they are together. That should tell you something right away. Um, and they're the eyes of a glassy-eyed fanatic. And when he said that he entered Amity in 1981, that shows you, that there's a little bit of an overlap there, but he's definitely a child of Synanon. And as I've said before, Synanon started out as a drug treatment program and ended up becoming the worst possible scenario, to where the government had to shut them down because of things like putting rattlesnakes in a lawyer's mailbox and he almost died because the snake bit him, stuff like that. And yeah, this has its roots in Synanon. He has his roots in Synanon. He does not believe that addiction is a disease. He thinks it's a something wrong with your moral character, and you know, then they throw this process at you that is unattainable because it doesn't even exist. So I'm going to close this video with that thought, and we're going to get into some more stuff later. I do want to say that not everybody that was on staff there was bad, but I'm going to expose the ones that were, you know, the ones that were, you know, having sex with other staff members and having sex with the people that were enrolled there, all of it, you know, because that was a huge rule, you know, no sex, but staff can do it. Right, right. And so I never went off campus unless I was going to a doctor's appointment. I didn't sneak off and go to the Circle K and come back with alcohol. I didn't mess with any of the women there, even though that could have been very possible there. I mean, it happens. You know, I obeyed all the rules. The only thing that their big bitch about me was I would not acquiesce to the process, and I smoked. And when they caught me doing it, I would have to go and sit with everybody in staff and listen to them dogpile me. And like I said before, it's just like a pack of dogs. When the top dog jumps on you and bites you, all the other dogs become vicious as well. And that's what it's like. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you for stopping by. Be healthy and free.